AMD's new X870 and X870E motherboards are here for us to have a look at, so let's do it. Hey, what's cracking everybody? Welcome back to Computer Games Hardware. Today on the channel, we are taking a look at AMD's new X870E and X870 motherboards. Usually when we get a new motherboard chipset, it also coincides with the launch of a new CPU. However, this hasn't happened this time around. The Ryzen 9000 series pretty much launched in August, and now there are rumors swirling around, and we did a video on it that you can catch up there about the 9800 X3D chip that is said to be launched sometime this October. So this might be a good time to consider a new motherboard, but we have some options this time around. We've got the X670 chipset, which is Ryzen 9000 ready, and now we have these new 800 series motherboards, X870 and the X870E chipset, which is packed with a ton of features, a couple that have piqued my interest. I'm looking forward to building a new computer when I can afford it, because straight off the bat, we'll just say it up front, spoiler alert, these things aren't bloody cheap. So let's take a look at them. Let's see what the value proposition is. On today's video, we're going to be looking at Australian prices with a reputable Australian computer hardware retailer. I'm not affiliated with them, or this isn't a this isn't a sponsored video or anything like that. What I want to do is take a look at a couple of the X870E motherboards in the high end, in the mid range, and in the low end. And have a look at sort of where I'm at, what I think is good value, and what I would want in my own build. Let's have a look at this website and check out what we have available in Australia for X870 motherboards. So here we go. We can go down to chipset here. So you can see for X870, we've got 10, and then we've got 6 X870E motherboards. Let's do them by highest to lowest. All right, and you might be able to tell there that I've already pre-selected some of them, but I just wanted to show you how this goes. So you can see that this thing updates pretty much 24/7. You can see that in Western Australia, which is a state in Australia, there is no stock, but in Victoria, where I am currently, they've got some stock. So let's have a look at the first one, and we're going to check out the ASUS ROG Crosshair X870E Hero. So this thing comes in at a whopping $12.99. $1,300 for this motherboard here in Australia, so it's around $750, something like that, US. And let's have a look at this thing. This is one beefy motherboard. It's got 18 plus 2 power stages, so that is a beefy VRM design. We've got 3 PCI 5 M.2 slots. We've got 2 PCIe 4 M.2 slots. We've got 2 PCIe 5 times 16 slots. You can see it looks really nice. It's got that ROG Crosshair branding. All the M.2 slots are covered in heat sinks. So this is a really nice looking board. It's got really high end audio with gold plated audio jacks. Let's look at some of the rear IO. So for me, this is probably not the best I've seen, particularly for $1,200. You've got your BIOS flashback button, you've got your clear CMOS, but you've only got one HDMI port, which is a little bit disappointing. You do have your 2 USB 4 40 gig ports, part of the X870 Extreme, the standard. You've also got 10 times 8 USB-C 10 gigabit, so that's 6 times Type A and 2 USB-C. You've got 5 gigabit Ethernet and 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, which is nice to see. That doesn't matter much here in Australia because we've got terrible internet. I can only get gigabit internet in my state, so you know that's a bit of a waste for me, so not too concerned about that. But you've also got two 20 gigabit USB-C front panel connectors, which is really good. Then you've got your slim SAS connector as well, and 4 SATA ports that are 6 gigabits. So there you go. It's a nice looking board, not as much connection ports as I would like on such an expensive board, so that's a little bit disappointing to me. Well out of my price range. It looks really nice, but unfortunately that's not going to be the one for me. Hey, just want to jump in here and say, if you're enjoying any of the content on Computer Games Hardware, please chuck us a like, share, and subscribe. You can also check us out on our socials. So we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, and we're also on Threads. So the links are in the video description as well. You can also check out all our affiliate links in the video description as well. If you want to support the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys. Next up, we've got the Gigabyte X870E Aorus Master. This one is a little step down from the ASUS Crosshair. This is $999, so under $1,000 for the Gigabyte X870E Aorus Master, and another nice looking board, I must say. This one has a 16.2+2 power phase design, so a little step down from the 18 of the Crosshair, but still, you know, will keep your CPU nice and cool. This has an 8-layer CPU. I'm not sure what the Crosshair has, but it's probably between 8 and 12, I would assume. You've got all your power connectors, and this has like a nice solid pin power connector. That's nice there. We've got 4 M.2 slots, so we've got 3 PCIe 5 M.2 slots, but we've only got 1 PCIe times 16 lane. So that's the difference here, but you gain a PCIe 4x4 slot and a PCI 3x4 slot. So you still got plenty of connection. I don't think anyone's going to be using two GPUs in modern systems anyway. So this has plenty to go on. Let's look at the thermal design. So that looks nice, all covered in heatsink. So all those M.2 slots are covered. Let's have a look at the rear I/O. So, you know, this is a much better rear I/O in my opinion, rather than the ASUS Crosshair. So this one's got a HDMI port. You've got some 2 USB 2s. You've got 4 USB 3.2 Gen 1. Then you've got the 2 dual USB 4 40 gigabit ports, USB-C, and you've got 4 USB 3.2 Gen 2 as well, and then you got your 5 gigabit LAN, Wi-Fi 7, and then you've got your audio out. So in terms of connectivity, I like that a little bit more. You're losing all that 10 gigabit USB-C and A ports, but you know, you've got enough here, and with those 2 40 gigabit USB-C ports, USB 4 ports, sorry, you know, I don't know. But again, at $999, this is way out of my price league. So let's go back and have a look at what we've got. So let's go into the mid-range. So I'm skipping a couple of those. So you obviously see we've got a couple of them, like the ASUS Pro Art, which I actually really like. It looks really nice. That's a sort of creator focused brand, but I think it's got pretty much the same connectivity as the Aorus Master. Then we've got the MSI MPG X870E Carbon Wi-Fi. So that's probably a motherboard that a lot of people will be interested in, but let's go into the low end. Let's go into the mid-range, sorry, and have a look at the ASUS Tough Gaming X870 plus Wi-Fi comes in at $669. So this is probably more my speed, getting into the mid-range here. So let's take a look at it in more detail. And surprisingly, this one has a 16 plus 2 plus 2 VRM power stages, so that's really good to see. I believe that's a step up from the X670 motherboard that is still available as well. On this one, you've got one PCIe 5x16 lane for your expansion slots, and you've got one PCI 4x16 expansion slots, so that's good to see. You've got two M.2 PCIe 5 slots, you got one 4 slots, and you've got one PCIe. You've essentially got two PCIe 4, so not bad. You still can do everything you want to do with this one. So would have been nice to see another expansion slot on this one, because what if you want to put a capture card in or something like that? But it's also got you know, heat sinks all over the chipsets. You've got a nice thick VRM. You've got a water pump header for custom water cooling, and you've got your CPU and AIO pump separate connection, so that's really good. You've got all your audio codecs and things like that. It's got edge lighting, and it's got a couple of addressable RGB headers. Let's have a look at the rear IO. So this is not too bad for my liking. So it's interesting to me that they've all dropped the display port on this one. I think because you're gaining the two USB 4 ports, that they're dropping the connectivity for DisplayPort, because you can get DisplayPort through those USB 4 ports. Anyway, so they've got HDMI ports. Still nice to see one, because lots of people have you know, DisplayPort cables that they can use. You got two 10 gigabit USB A ports. You got a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. We've got the two 40 gigabit USB 4 ports that also come with DisplayPort. You've got one USB 2.0 port, another 10. You've actually got three 10 gigabit USB A's there. Then you've got four 5 gigabit USB ports, Wi-Fi 7, and then all your audio jacks and stuff like that. So nice little board here. Interesting to see how it performs. You've got a couple of front I/O headers. You also get a USB 20 gigabit front panel connector, which has 30 watt PD fast charging. So not too bad. That is something that I might be interested in, depending on the performance. But let's see what else we've got in the mid-range. Let's look at the MSI X870 Tomahawk. This is more my style. Why have they done that? So I don't know if you can see in the back there, but I have an MSI motherboard. I've got the MATX Mag Mortar B550 Wi-Fi in there, which has served me quite well. It's a great little board, a little bit too small for the case there, but I've gotten a lot of good value out of this one. So this one is another little step down. It's called 14.2.1 power rail system, which is, again, I think that it more than covers your CPU. You've got those huge shields there. You've got all your M.2 shields covered. This one even have those easy connectors, and it's got an easy connector PCIe release. Now they've gone with a like lime green color on this Tomahawk for some reason, and I don't know why they've done that, because they haven't done that on any of the previous models going back for ages, and I'm not sure it's going to look great in most people's systems. Anyway, that is a minor complaint. Let's have a look at the thermal solution. So you got pump fan support, You've got a heatsink with a 7-watt MK thermal pad, so it's got a nice little thermal pad. You've got your double-sided M.2 shields, and you've got extended heatsink, and this is another 8-layer server grade PCB. So we were talking about that a little bit earlier. That's what you want. That's the general standard. So I think this will perform as good as any other in the mid-range. Let's look at the connectivity. So we've got 2 USB 4 40 gigabit ports. We've got memory boost, 5 gigabit Ethernet, Wi-Fi 7 on this board too, and we've got 2 PCIe 5 slots. So that is quite impressive. This is also $30 cheaper than the Tough Gaming as well. So this is looking like the board that I might get, but I hate the color. I hate the green on it. Anyway, I can live with the green if it performs well. So we might have to look up a review for this board, because this looks like it's got the connectivity I'm looking for. It doesn't have a display port either, but again, you've got the Lightning gigabit. I don't know if both of them provide display port power, but I'm pretty sure that's a part of the standard, and they do. So this is probably my style. I'm probably more happy at $630, which is completely expensive. It's getting ridiculous. I'm not sure what the value proposition is with the new features that are going into it. USB 4 is not also exclusive to X870. You can get it on the X670 platforms in those, you know, Halo products, the MSI Godlikes, and the ASUS ROG Crosshair. You can get them. What you can also do is get like a Thunderbolt card for your expansion slots. You got a PCIe times 16 lane, and then you've got 2 Gen 4 M.2s as well. So plenty of room for storage and connectivity here. This thing is probably more my sleeve. It's also got the easy releases and all those sort of things. So you can see all those sort of things. So you can see there's SoC power and then miscellaneous power. So that will keep your CPU nice and cool. It's a pity they went with such an annoying color for a motherboard. What can you do though, hey? Alright, let's move into the lower end. At $600 these days, that's sort of where I'm at. So I don't think you should be happy about it, but let's move on into the low end and try to get sub $500 Australian dollars. So let's look at the MSI PRO 80. So this one is still quite expensive. So even at the low end, we're still looking at $570, $569 for this motherboard. You know, I would say move up into the mid-range, to be honest with you. Let's have a look at what it's got. So it's got 2 8-pin power connectors. You've got all the easy clips that features on MSI boards now. This is an 8-layer server grade PCB as well. The difference in the lower end is clearly here we've got only one 40 gigabit USB-C. I can't see the rest of the connector. We've got a 5 gigabit Ethernet and Wi-Fi 7, so that is pretty good. You've got DDR5 support, got Gen 5 times 16 and 1 Gen 5 M.2 slot. So not too bad. Fan pump support. We've got one M.2 shield for the PCIe 5. So look, not a bad motherboard, just expensive. Just really expensive. So it's got the same V-Core power design. So it's not like it's a bad motherboard. So you can see let's have a look at the rear I/O. Just couldn't see one there. So let's have a look here. There we go. All right, so we've got our HDMI connector. We've got our 40 gigabit USB 4 with display port. So there's your display port. We've got a 5 gig USB-A. We've got two 10 gigabit USB-A. And then you've got 4 USB 2s and another 5 gigabit USB-C. You've also got a 20 gig USB 4 connection. So they've dropped that down a little bit. That will not provide DisplayPort pass-through though. So be aware of that. If you want more video connections, you only get 2 with this motherboard. You still get Wi-Fi 7. We talked about the 5 gigabit Ethernet, and then you get all your audio ports. So not bad. It's just, you know, it's over $500. So when we're talking about the low end ain't low anymore. These are mid-range boards now. Would I buy this? Probably not. I would probably wait for B850 before I made a purchase decision if I was pushing up against $500 for a motherboard. All right, so let's go back and finally look at our final motherboard for today, and that's the Gigabyte X870 Gaming X Wi-Fi 7. So this is a sub $500 board. So this thing has a 16+2+2 digital VRM design. Not as hefty as you would expect because it's a 6-layer PCB. What do you expect for a sub $500 board? It's got one PCIe times 16 PCIe slot. It's got 3 PCIe 3 slots, however. So you haven't got any PCIe 4 integration. I would have preferred one PCIe 4, but that's just me. You've got your 24 pin, you've got your 8+4 power design for the CPU, and you've got one PCIe 5 M.2 slots and 2 PCIe 4. So that's where they've gone. I would have preferred one of the PCIe 4 lanes be another PCIe slot, but that's just me. I don't know. You can see that there's not much going on there. So you still get a little bit of a heatsink. It's not as beefy as all the other boards, obviously. And your M.2 have thermal guards as well, and it's got one of those easy connectors as well. So, you know, it's okay. Let's look at the rear I/O. So we've got a Q flash button, a BIOS flashback button. Got 4 USB 2.0s, which is not bad. Got a HDMI port, but you still get the dual USB-C for 40 gigabits a second. So that means you still get 2 DisplayPort pass-throughs. This says DisplayPort Alt. I'm not quite sure what that means. I'm not sure if that's a different pass-through method or whatever. I'll have to look that up. You also get one USB-A 3.2 Gen 2, 2.5 gigabit LAN, three USB 3.2 Gen 1s, and you get the updated Wi-Fi 7 and your audio out. So, you know, it still has, being the X870 chipset, the USB 4, if that's what you're looking for. And I suspect that most people want to be upgrading to X870 because they want USB 4 connectivity. The other option, as we mentioned before, is waiting for B850 to come and, you know, thinking about, Thunderbolt and things like that, expansion cards for USB 4 and stuff like that, because they are possibilities as well. You can get a Thunderbolt expansion card that will give you all the same functionality in a cheaper board. You're just going to have to wait for them to release them. So that is a bit of a roundup. I am still liking the MSI Tomahawk Wi-Fi. It's real ugly, but I don't like the green at all, but that's where I think I am. I quite like the X870 Tomahawk Wi-Fi. Pity about the color scheme that MSI have decided to go with. I think this is the price to performance that I'm looking for. That's the type of rear I/O I'm looking for. Dual display port, USB 4. I think that does the trick. I would have liked to see more 10 gig ports on this rear IO, but I can live with that. It's already got two. It's got USB, dual USB for ports, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm used to the MSI motherboards. I don't mind the BIOS and the UEFI in them, and I'm used to all the easy ports and things like that. I have an understanding and a learning for that, so that's probably the one I'm going to go with. I just looked up some reviews, so it looks like OC3D they're talking about having ramped up performance. I can see the best next gen AM5 board yet from YouTube. Absolute innovation from another. So I'm gonna get stuck into some of these reviews to affirm my confirmation bias for my MSI board. I think that's a good place to start. $640 is a little bit expensive for me. Let's be honest. The prices of these motherboards have skyrocketed. You are getting some, you know, cutting edge technology, getting USB 4, you know, you're getting all the Gen 5 you know, expansion slots and M.2 slots. So, you know, you are getting something for your money, but boy, is it going to be expensive. All right, so before we go, why don't we have a look at what it's going to cost me to upgrade to the X870E motherboard with the CPU and some new RAM. Let's go into Wishlist. Let's create a new one. All right, let's look up those components. So we said it was the MSI X870 Tomahawk. So let's go for that one. X870. Where are we? There we go. So that's $636. It's also available everywhere, so I can pick this up right now. So let's add that to my wish list. So boom, we'll put that in there and we'll keep shopping. Next, we need a CPU. So let's look at the AM5 CPUs. So we are looking at so for that type of price point, let's put in a 9900X, 9950, 9900X. It's actually out of stock everywhere, so that is not good, but we're looking at 757, so there's been a little bit of a price decrease for these chips in Australia, so we'll add that to our wish list. It's not in stock at the moment, but we're just putting it on our wish list at the moment. So see, that's what I really like about it. They've sold out, and then it'll tell me if I wanted a 9950X, I could get one there. But the 9700X and the 9600X are all available, so that is good news. All right, and to complete my upgrade, I'd also need to get some RAM. So let's have a look at what the RAM looks like. So get some desktop memory. Let's look at the RAM type. We're looking at DDR5. I want to go for a bit of an upgrade. Let's go 64 gig. Cast latency. Okay. Let's go. I like doing price from most to least expensive, and let's have a look. So okay, so for some Corsair Vengeance 64 gig, so I've got 32 gigs of DDR4 in there, and I probably paid around $299 for that there, but I want to do a bit of an upgrade. So that's C40 5200. I'm looking at, you know, minimum 600, and let's get the latency right down. So got some, I don't really like the look of those, so they're 375. So we're looking at the Trident skills. So what's the difference between the Neo and I can't tell much of a difference between there, so I am going to go for the cheaper model there. So let's have a look at those. You can get them in silver or black. Let's check the black ones. It's got RGB, and as you can see it's got them in Victoria and WA. So let's add those to our wish list. Alright, so as you can see, if I want to do a full Zen 5 upgrade, it's going to cost me around $1,800, so $1,772, and that is for the motherboard, some pretty good RAM, and a Ryzen 9900X, which is probably what I'm looking at. I'm probably going to wait until the end of the year and see what the landscape is with Intel, what the X3D parts are starting to look like. So, do you think I've picked the right motherboard in the X870 Tomahawk? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I've had a really good time making this one. I hope you guys have had a good time watching it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you next time.